Welcome to our Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Vernaetaylor, and here is a safe space where we can come together and we can talk about the things that we've been through. We can show you the breakthrough map to get from pain to purpose, breakdown to breakthrough, from your past to living your greatest story. And I am super duper excited about the guest we have today, my girl, LaShena Recruitalina, honey. How about that for a name? And she's actually a hostess with Moses. Hopefully she'll tell you a little bit about that. But I'm so excited for her to be here as my personal special guest. So, how are you, LaShena?
Hello, Vernay. I am doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. You look fabulous. And so, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hello, everyone. I am LaShena Recruitalina, your six-figure career brand coach. I help corporate professionals and entrepreneurs, specifically introverts, to be able to own and rock their oomph, to build their personal brand and to increase their income. I'm also the podcast host of Career Happy Hour. So, any happy hour that you would like to join us, you can always tune in to careerhappyhour.com. So grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
Cheers. We should have
Cheers.
our little drinks, right?
I
Cheers
know.
through the screen. But no, I love it. I love it. Did you guys hear that, ladies and gentlemen? She says introvert, but then she said rock your umph. She did that with her neck. So it doesn't look like an introvert to me. So it's great because she's bringing that out of people. And we're going to talk about her story and how you arrived to this umph, right? Because there's a journey to get there, right? You don't just wake up. Although Beyonce says, I wake up like this. We don't all wake up like this. So tell us about that. Tell us about this journey that you've been on to rock your umph and help others to do the same.
It's interesting that you say that about Beyonce because she actually is an introvert. She said before that she's an introvert, and her being able to rock her ump has a lot to do with her having an alter ego, which a lot of us introverts, I know I'm an undercover introvert because people see me moving in this personal brand streets, and they think, oh, well, she's not an introvert. I really am. But I think it's, great to be able to have that alter ego that we can have a way of kind of getting outside of our own head, because sometimes we're just in our head so much. We overthink things to the point that it's analysis by paralysis. We just won't make any moves because we're just thinking it through so much. So I think that's one of the things that I coach to, with being able to first own your umph, because we have it inside of us. That secret sauce is what that umph is. And it's about being able to dig deep to own it first. And then once you own it, then you're able to rock it.
Yes. Well, I love that. And you're right. It is about owning who you are. And of course, it's the journey of finding who you are, right? Because we have to discover that. And I think definitely as women, woof, I mean, we really identify ourselves by our roles, the hats we wear, right? And who we are to other people. But sometimes it's like if we just strip ourselves of those titles, strip ourselves of those relationships and all the ways that we serve other people, we have to ask ourselves, who am I, right? And how do I identify in order to own who that is? Yeah. So who is LaShena? Tell us about this. Tell us LaShena, right? Not the Recruitalina, right? You just gave us the Recruitalina. So who is LaShena?
So the LaShena is this introverted person who has just gets exhausted sometimes just because of the energy and the stimuli that is around me. But I know that I have people that I have been assigned to serve on this earth, and that's where the LaShena turns to the Recruitalina so that I can show up and show out as I have been given the talents to be able to do so. So, I think LaShena is, a humble person, down to earth, just, it's just interesting how I'll just be out and about, and people just tell me the most random things about themselves and unsolicited, and I'm thinking,
Tell us something. What's the craziest thing that someone told you?
I can't even remember. It's just
Oh my
they'll just
goodness.
randomly start talking about something, and I think it's just because LaShena has this this energy that just it says what's on your mind, what is
Mm-hmm.
it, it's
Mm-hmm.
the recruiter side of
Very
me.
warm, though. Very warm. Not a recruiter, because not all recruiters are like you. Most recruiters, to me, honestly, can be cold, very, sales driven. So I don't think they have that warmth that you come with. You don't seem like a recruiter. You're not all about the job, right? I feel like you're
Yeah.
about the person.
Yeah,
So
I
where does that
appreciate
come
you
from?
saying that. I appreciate you saying that, and I think you're right. Not all recruiters are made the same, and I
Right.
think that's where I've been able to kind of differentiate myself as Recruitalina, because
Hmm.
I think that if you are genuinely interested in helping people to find the right fit in what they do, and that's a lot of what I would do in my recruiter role. I tell people, I said, let's just have an organic conversation.
Hmm.
I know I'm interviewing you for this specific job, but I want to learn about you so that I can really find the best fit for you, if it's this job or if it's something, if it's a different job. And I'm not trying to, put a warm butt in a seat kind of thing. It's not about numbers. It's not about commissions, because sometimes recruiters do work on commission, but I've always worked in a corporate type of setting. And I think it's also that empathy. I'm naturally empathetic.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you, as a child, when you talk about, breaking through and overcoming, as a child and as an empath, I was always very, what they call, sensitive. She's so
Mm.
sensitive.
Yeah, me too. I'm one of those.
And people talked about it as a negative. You wear your emotions on your sleeve. And I didn't realize that it was actually, it's part of your nervous system when you're
Mm.
made that way. So
Okay.
people say, they talk about, crying, just, man up, or just you grow up, but it's
Hmm.
not that for an empath. An empath has something as part of their DNA makeup. Their nervous system causes them to be that
Wow.
way. So my breakthrough, I would say, is really being able to, one, manage that. Of course, you can't be
Yeah.
in any setting and just burst into tears. Being able
Right.
to manage that, and to be able to recollect yourself, and to be able to also have prepared ways of responding, especially when you're
Mm.
dealing with some personalities that can be a bit
Mm.
um manipulative, I'll say.
Yes. Come on, talk about it. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes. And that's another thing
So
I discovered later on in life. Like, wow, I didn't even know about this whole idea of like narcissism,
yes,
manipulation, this
yes.
aggression, passive aggression. Yeah.
Ooh, you preaching right now. So I
Yeah.
would say, that breakthrough for me is, one, to your point, Renee, is being able to even recognize that that's a thing,
Mhm.
because I was thinking, what's wrong with me? Because, that personality type will make you feel like something's wrong with you.
Right.
And being the empath, then you're feeling that energy to say, it makes you just think. It's like, oh, well, maybe I should think about this, or maybe I should, because that's just how we naturally think anyway.
Yes.
But when
Yes.
someone is really targeting you to manipulate you, they're using that against you instead of as the positive that it really is.
Yeah, wow. So yeah, I love that you talked about that, being an empath, because you know, I was telling somebody that like a lot of these words, these buzzwords, right? A lot of this language we did not have 10 years ago. We
Mhm.
had no clue. I was sensitive as well. And people would say, "Oh gosh, there's something wrong with you." And it wasn't until I grew into my own where I could own my right? And own who I was and say, "You know what? I'm a feeler. I feel everything. I empathize with you because I have a big heart and I'm compassionate." So I love that you said that. And let's talk about how there's some people, like you said, that can take those things and try to use it as a weakness for you or try to attack, and how you were able to overcome those things. Like, how, talk to me about a time where you had to kind of stand up for yourself, or you had to maybe separate yourself, right? And stand your ground and say, no, no, this is the boundary. What does that look like for you?
So the interesting thing about being an empath is that the narcissist personality is almost like a magnet. They're a magnet for each other. So, and I say narcissist, and I know, that term can be used in a variety of ways. And there's different degrees of narcissism as well. And I'm not going to go into to the technical side of it because I'm not a doctor in that way, but I just know just the things that I've learned in my journey is that those two personalities, they're really attracted to each other, because the narcissist behavior, one of the key things is that they like to have the attention. They like to be in control.
Okay.
And the empath is, they're a helper. Usually they're a helper. They want to help and help solve for things. So I've experienced that not only in my personal relationships, but also in my professional relationships, because like I said, they're just drawn to that empath. And so some of the ways that I've had to work through that is, one, being confident in myself.
Okay.
Because if there is any inkling of doubt about who you are, then that behavior, that personality, they call them vampires. They actually they clench in, and they kind of suck the energy out of you. So the other thing that I also am careful of is keeping my energy really, really high. Energy meaning, you see I have my candle, going, aroma, like that helps me with my energy and it helps keep me balanced. And then being able to the words that I use with them, from in the relationship piece of it, as well as the professional, being able to speak in a tone that is firm. Because if they detect any type of weakness, again, they're waiting for that door to open and they're going to pounce on it. So, and I say this in a way that, it can be hard to necessarily be the strong one all the time, right? So there's that part of where you're being able to replenish my energy is really important. So, motivational quotes is really important to me. Meditation is very important. Being able to center myself. And there's many times that, before, if I have like a scheduled meeting with someone or that I know has that personality type, then I will literally prepare my nervous system and my mind to get ready for it. So
and I love that you said planned responses earlier. I was like, wow, that's interesting, because you're right. Sometimes you have to do that so that you don't get knocked off of your block in terms of what they do or how they do it, that you don't always react.
Because they really love doing that. They love being able to catch you off guard and to throw you off, off your center.
Yeah. Well, my goodness, I didn't know the conversation would go that way, but I mean, I tell you, it is something along the journey. All of the different personalities that you pick up on, the personalities that kind of either set barriers, those that kind of come with you, those that you have to shave away from. There's so many things that happen. I'm sure when you're recruiting people, when you're helping people along the way, when they've lost a job and now they're trying to find their way. So talk a little bit about your life, right? And how you arrived to this person, right? Arrived to knowing that this is what you want to do. Now, you knew you were an empath, right? And I noticed you said something about being an empath, and usually they're helpers. And you're right. And look what you're doing. So what was that like? What was the turning point in your life to know that this is what I want to do? I can stand in this, I can own this, I can be confident in this. What was
Mm-hmm.
going on in your life that made you arrive to this place?
I've always been a curious learner. I've always been really big on personal development. And
Mm,
so, some of that personal development comes from scripture, some of it comes from training courses, but always seeking to learn and to see how I can do things different and better. And so with that, my career, from at being a recruiter, continued to unfold and evolve, where I wasn't able to help everyone within my recruiter job because I worked, recruited for one specific company. So if they didn't have a job that fit, the person that was reaching out to me, I felt as if there was a little bit of I felt like, wow, I can't help them. Like, how else can I help them? So that's when
okay.
my passion to help people then evolved into having my own business where I coach corporate professionals to be able to navigate their career either through, promotions or job seeking, doing job interviews, doing their resume, their LinkedIn profile. But what I was finding as I was building my brand is that I also resonated and spoke to entrepreneurs who were also looking to build their brand, or they were dualpreneurs. They had a full-time job as
Okay.
well as building their business. And so I was like, oh, there's a need for this. This is a gap that I can provide. But what was happening is that I I wanted to help people so badly that a lot of times, they come to me when they have a pain. And a lot of times that meant that they didn't have money because they were unemployed and they were looking for a job.
Right.
And it's like, wow, love to
Right.
pay you, LaShena, but I really need to find a job. So
Right.
then I would just help them out of the goodness of my heart. And
Okay. Yeah, I was about to say, how do you reconcile that?
I was doing a disservice to them though, because if they're
Okay.
not invested in it, then they weren't really putting in the work like they needed to. And then they don't get the results that they need. And then I feel as if I fail them, but I'm really just because I've done them a disservice. So with that, what really was my turning point to say, you know what, I need to get serious about this is that I was diagnosed with breast cancer at a very young age of 45,
Wow. Okay.
which is the same age that my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer and passed within a week or so of being diagnosed.
Oof.
And when I tell you that was just traumatizing, to think someone is, they're living their life one day and then the next moment they're in the hospital and the doctors say, that she'll never leave the hospital because the cancer
Wow.
was so aggressive. And
Wow.
so I always had that in the back of my mind that my
Mhm.
mom passed of breast cancer so early. Of course, breast cancer is genetics. It can be part of the genetics. And so
Yeah.
I would always get my mammograms faithfully when I started at 30 years old because she
Wow.
died
And
so
mine was, and it's crazy. My first one was at 29
young. Oh,
because, yeah, because I have fibrocystic breast.
wow.
And
Oh.
wow. And I thought I was unusual. So, wow. I didn't even know
Mhm.
that yours first was at 30.
Yes, they
Okay.
they suggest that you do it really young when it's that close in your family. So
Okay.
when, it was just I say God has humor, right? Because he's
Mhm.
the best comedian. But to think that I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the same exact age that my
Oh my
mom was.
gosh.
It's like, what?
But that's not funny, LaShena. That's sad. That makes me
Like,
sad. Yeah.
it's I find the humor in it because there's a lot of things that happen and it's like, man, that's traumatic. But then,
Yeah.
when you think about it and you find the humor in it and you laugh about it, you're like, you know what? I see what you were doing because he sometimes, it takes that swift kick in the butt to like get us to what we're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
And that's where these things, these obstacles that happen in life, if we think about it that way, it's like, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to do differently because of this obstacle? And in my case, it just totally turned my life upside down, because all I could think about is I want my young son to have his mother growing up.
Right.
And,
Okay.
I don't want him growing up without a mom.
So
So
you fought. So you fought.
I was fighting. I was fighting. And,
That's
just the
awesome.
things that he, even as we were going through that journey, and I was talking to him about it, and he wrote. I remember him writing something at school that he brought home that talked about how strong his mom is,
Oh
and
my gosh. Yes.
it touched my heart. But it
Of
also made me
course.
remember that time is limited. What am I doing?
Yes.
I
Okay.
cannot continue
Okay.
to just be playing around with the people that God has given me to serve and that I have been assigned to. I need to get my butt in gear. And so that's
Okay.
really when I took my business to the next level of really serving people, but then also not doing it pro bono.
Yeah, I was about to say. So how are you? Well, first off, I just want to just say that is just amazing. The fact that you are a survivor, yes, you are strong, and you are a super strong and amazing mother, and superwoman. I feel like all my friends that are mothers are superwomen. Like your superpowers. I don't know how you guys do it, and how you show up for him and everything else that you do. So with you saying, okay, this is what I want to do, and these are the people that I wanted to serve, but they're really not the people that can pay me. How did you reconcile that? How did you find your tribe? Because you said you are assigned
Yeah.
to a specific group of people. How did you get to those specific people?
I switched my mindset about it, is that the very simplest answer that I can give you.
Wow, mindset. I'm
And
hearing that a lot.
because, because I learned that I had to stop counting other people's coins, because these
Okay.
same people that
Right.
I feel as if they can't afford it, they are, they could be doing they're usually doing other things with their money. I mean,
Right. Right.
you know,
Talk about it.
or what I also learned is that just because they may not have what they feel as if the money, they may have access to financial resources.
Mm.
So then that's
Look
the
at that. How's that the way you position that? Access to I'm gonna write it down. Access to financial resources. Look at, you see how she said that? She said that just so eloquently. And I tell you, people wouldn't even know that they're going in, they're reaching in their pocket to get this money by you telling them that way. It's the positioning of the words.
absolutely. And then it's, helping them be creative and figuring out what those
I
financial
love that.
resources are. Because,
Okay.
many times, it could
Okay.
be individuals who are, they're working, or, that they're unemployed and they have access to their 401k. And, it may be
Mm.
that they need to, tap into those resources. Or it could be a family member. I've had that happen where family members are like, I want to help you find a job, but I don't know how to, but they will help fund an
Same.
investment in them. A parent might
Okay.
help a
Right. Like a
child.
loan. I've had people do that.
Mhm,
I've had people help me that way.
mhm,
Yeah. When you're going through hard times, there's this
right.
one friend I know that like I could go to her for anything I needed. If I was locked up tomorrow, like, honey, I need bail money. Although that would never happen, honey. My mother used to say, listen, I can't do the time, so I ain't gonna do the crime. So that's just me. but but you're right. You're right. My goodness, access to financial resources.
Mhm.
Wow. And like you said, it was all in your mindset.
Yeah.
Man, that's amazing. I mean, you are dropping a lot of gems about just life, right? And about your journey in terms of what you do and really helping people. But then also, like at the top of the show, you telling us you being able to manage that, manage your emotions, having planned responses, and understanding that you can't help everybody, but there is a specific group that you can help. And so that's such a key, knowing your limits, right? Kind of knowing your limits, knowing your boundaries, knowing where you stand. Another thing that you mentioned, like, being firm and being able to communicate and show up confidently, authentically as yourself, and not letting someone kind of push over you. I think that's super important. And especially, and it's so indicative to the person that you are, having to fight through something like cancer. Like, oh my goodness, you are a survivor. This is amazing. And that you've been through this, but you are living and thriving. And like you said, you found the humor in it. Like, no, you know what I mean? Just knowing that, like, you went through something and now you're kind of going through a similar situation, but now God has prepared you for that. And I know I kind of can relate to what you're saying, because I know with losses, you losing your parent, me losing a parent, now moving forward with something else and the loss of something else or somebody else, now I'm prepared, on how to get through it. And that's what we want to tell our people here, our breakthrough podcast, giving them the breakthrough map on how they can get through some things. So I do want to definitely reiterate some of the amazing gems that you dropped, because if you're not taking notes, you need to take notes, and make sure you take notes in this wrap up, because it's important that, here, LaShena Recruitalina rocking her umph, that there's a journey for it, that there's a path that one must walk to get to the bag, to get to that result that they're looking for, to get to that new job, or get to just finding their voice, and like the confidence piece. So I love that you talked about mindset. I love that you talked about high energy. And if you didn't catch it, she talked about how she keeps her energy high, whether it's meditation, whether it's creating the ambiance, and maybe the scented candle, and just the peace in the room, and you talked about the scriptures and motivation with quotes. I think that's really important too. Like, what are you pouring into yourself? What are you telling yourself? And I'm sure you have to do a lot of that with the people that you coach, because they're probably feeling sad and really down on themselves, especially if they've lost a job. And I love that you said time is limited. Time is limited. So you've got to get it done. And you said that was a turning point for you, where you realize, I want to be here for my son. I want to be present. I need to make sure that I'm putting my time and energy where it's absolutely necessary, because otherwise that's time away from the people that we love, and that's so important. So if there's somebody listening, there's a young girl listening, trying to find her way, not sure what she wants to do, maybe doesn't even know her purpose, right? So not even a matter of losing a job. Maybe she's about to go on to have her first job. What do you tell that young lady?
I love that question. I do. And I when if I had that little girl, because I think of, myself as that little girl, almost like, what would I tell my younger self?
Yep. Well, yeah. What would you
And
tell your younger self?
I would say that you have everything inside of you that you need to conquer this world. You have everything inside of you. And how you bring that out from inside of you will come with continuing to to feed your brain, feed your mind positive things. Always learning, always knowing that no one is perfect. Absolutely no one. And you won't be perfect, but there will be ways that you'll be able to show up as who you are, and then you'll continue to learn over time. So keep experimenting. Like, when you were in science class, there was something to the just putting ourselves through an experiment that is
Mhm.
actually a lifelong lesson. When you're in science class and you do that experiment, you really don't know how all of those things are going to mix together, all those things you
I
pour.
know, right? Some of the stuff they did, I'm like, this is dangerous.
Yes. It might blow up, it might fizzle, it might not do anything, but you're like waiting in anticipation of what is going to happen with that experiment.
Right,
But then you
right.
don't think that it's a failure if something goes different
Right.
than what you had planned.
Interesting. Yeah.
Think, okay, well, maybe I need to put in a little less of this that time, a little less of that baking soda this time.
I
Because
know
at the
that's right.
time, it sounded like a lot of baking soda was a great idea, but it wasn't. But it's, continue to experiment and to have fun. Oh my goodness,
Mhm.
I cannot tell you how important I feel like having fun is to just the trajectory of you keeping momentum.
Yeah, that's that energy part that you were talking about. I love that.
Oh my goodness. I
Yeah.
Some of the things that I've learned from my son's baseball playing and development it's been so
Yeah.
cool, because one of the things that the coaches tell the boys is that even when it's a tense game and they know that everything is on the line, maybe about when they go up to bat, the
Hmm.
coach will say, "Have fun, kid."
Oh,
And it's
that's
something
important.
about those words that just kind of give you the liberation and the freedom to be like,
Hmm.
I'm having fun. I can
Yeah.
do this. But
Release the pressure.
if you tense up, then you're actually working against yourself, because then you're so afraid of messing up. What do? You mess up.
Right. Right.
So I
Right.
would say those are some of the key things that I would say to my younger self, to a
Yeah.
young girl out there, is to continue learning and having fun, and being able to find that inner voice. I love how you said that, is finding
Mhm.
that inner voice that you have, because it's in there. It just
Yeah.
sometimes has to be developed a bit.
Yeah.
And then, for those that have a lot of it, then sometimes they
Give it
have
to someone else.
they have to they have to groom it a bit,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
groom that voice. But it's there, and it's that secret sauce. It's our umph that we have to find, so that we can fulfill our purpose, because each of us has a purpose that we are here for. And the
Yeah.
quicker that we can find what that purpose is, then the happier we are, and the happier the people are that we have been assigned to.
Yes, 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 yes. Snap it up for that. Yes. Oh my goodness. So you heard it here, guys. You heard it here, guys. Whatever you need is inside of you to conquer this world. I love that. That's going to be a quote that I can just take and put in my pocket and bring it out when I need it, because that's important. Of course, your mindset, have fun, discover your purpose, discover your voice, own it, rock it. Okay. And experiment. I love that. I love that. And just having fun. So you heard it here from LaShena, Recruitalina, on our Breakthrough podcast, where we will take you with a breakthrough map from pain to purpose, from breakdown to breakthrough, from your past to living your greatest story. We have it here. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow our Breakthrough podcast across all social media platforms. And I thank you so much for being with us, LaShena. And to all those that are watching, until next time, keep breaking through. Bye.